whether it is a 5 rupees hair oil or 5,000 rupees tire. The Indian consumer makes decision with their heart first, and then the head comes in. I am a pathologically curious guy, and I love building. I mean, the fear is very natural at all stages. I think fear is always there, and like the way our Prime Minister says, Aapda mein avsar. COVID got the digital transformation. The power of compounding for you. Trust compounds, technology compounds, know-how compounds. That number itself is flawed.
Wow.
We will not make you money, we'll make you wealth. To my mind, leave YOLO, but retirement ka bhi soch lo. So goal setting, goal management, I think that's the crux of financial planning. So we'll become from a kind of country of savers to country of investors. Your greed will come in the way. What do you think that there are certain communities in the country who do very well in business? I think I'm disciplined, I diversify, and I think in long terms. Saving is like parking your money. Investing is like putting it to work. Mauj lo, roj lo.
Welcome to the House of Equentis, where finance meets perspective and every conversation is an investment in your future. I'm your host, and today we have somebody who has lived many professional lives in one career: a marketer, a strategist, a growth architect, and a fintech transformer. Mr. Prabhakar Tiwari has shaped some of India's most iconic brands, from Parachute hair oil to CEAT tires to angel broking, and each time he's done it by reimagining how to connect with people. He's been at the heart of India's fintech evolution, leading transformations that have turned legacy businesses into tech-first powerhouses. Today, we're going to go through his journey, his lessons, and turning points. The vision for the future of wealth creation in India will grow from small towns to metros, from AIs to attention spans, from building trust to building brands. Prabhakar, welcome to the House of Equentis.
Yes.
So you build brands, you build businesses for decades. But before finance, before money, you were actually building brands जो हर household में they play a critical role, from
Right.
Parachute to CEAT. What did it teach you about the Indian consumer?
Thanks, Alok. First of all, thanks for having me here. And see, those FMCG years were my MBA in understanding Indian psyche. Whether it is a 5 rupees hair oil or 5,000 rupees tire, the Indian consumer makes decision with their heart first, and then the head comes in, right? If India would have a middle name, it will be called value conscious. I mean, पैसे को पूरा utilize करना. That's the mindset that we are into, right? And the only thing consumer wants to know is that, is this brand really respecting my money and my trust? Now that becomes very, very important, right? I mean, if you look at it, other things come in later. The knowing about CEAT being a big brand comes in later. I mean, do they really understand me? Is the safety promise, do they deliver on it? Have I heard about it? Have I seen them over a longer cycles? Similarly for Parachute, I mean, my grandmother used to trust it. My mom trusted. Can I trust it as a college going girl? Right? Now, those are the kind of things people ask, right? And that is very, very important. I mean, there are a number of hours I have spent time in the nooks and corners of this country talking to, young girls, young boys, men, and trying to understand their life. How do they make their choices, their hopes, their aspirations, their media choices? And one thing I clearly learned, it's all about trust and money. And if you win their trust, you can actually charge premium. Even that is a possibility.
And Pity, I think over the last 15 years, the business that we are in today, we've also realized that the base of the advisory business, the base of helping people create long-term wealth is essentially creating a trusted relationship.
Right.
बिना trust के
Right.
वो गाड़ी आगे चल ही नहीं सकती.
Absolutely.
Right.
You're so right.
And And we also believe that there are only two ways, we can build this trust.
Correct.
One, either it's physical proximity,
Right.
or is the amount of spend, time that you mentioned. And I so agree
Right.
that कि जितना time आप customers के साथ गुजारोगे, जितना time आप बाजार में रहोगे, जितना time आप उनकी preferences को समझने में लगाओगे, the more you get closer to them.
Absolutely. You're bang on.
I think this is a big learning for
You
today's...
cannot hack trust.
Yeah.
You can only accelerate it, and accelerate it not by artificial means, by organic means. That's the only way. And in fact, like as we are building Project Drone, we know that we cannot beat others on the time horizon, time in the market. But there has to be some other things which has to come in, and we have to really go to the core of being trusted, not for the sake of commercial gain, but for the sake of getting that first transaction, first trial in place. And once we get that and keep the consumer centricity on, transaction after transaction will build it. Right? So that's our game plan.
Lovely. Piti, as a marketer, as a human being, this journey from building businesses across hair oil to tires to now running a wealth tech, introducing a wealth tech, a new wealth tech in the market. How has this journey shaped you as an individual?
I'm a pathologically curious guy, and I love building.
Pathologically curious.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it is very painful for the people around me, right? Painful for me, but I can take that pain and boredom to learn new things. And that is since my childhood days. And a lot of it I learned from my father, who was equally very curious, even in his small town existence, and was amazingly productive. In the matter of his society, office, family, everything. Like he really applied himself, around things that he see and where his help was needed. And I learned that from him. So to me, being entrepreneurial was never a difficulty. I was entrepreneurial since the time I was a graduate engineer trainee or a management trainee. I always thought it's my company, right? And of course, I had a role, I had a functional thing, but always tried to look holistically. So when I did my first startup with the Margdarshak and now with Project Drone, I do not feel any different because that's my playbook. That's how I always operated. Just that now I have more freedom to operate as long as my investors and stakeholders are aligned. And that gives me a lot of liberty to build things the way I want, cutting down ills of a legacy hierarchical driven company. At the same time, learning the compliant attitude and the stability which is required with processes, structures and other things.
एक छोटे शहर से बड़े शहर में आके इतनी सक्सेस बनाने के बाद कहीं ना कहीं आपके मन में ये नहीं था कि मेरे को थोड़ा डर लग रहा है अब मैं इतनी कंफर्टेबल जॉब छोड़ के अपना स्टार्टअप स्टार्ट करूंगा?
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the fear is very natural at all stages. I think fear is always there. I mean, I remember I moved from Hindi medium to English medium in class 11th. Of course, I was fearful to that degree. And of course, leaving your friends behind and go to a new school was a fearful thing. That time, of course, my father stepped in because in his vision, I had to be in English medium because my younger brother and sister were in English medium. And I think whatever cultural orientation and Desh Bhakti in a way he wanted to give me was already in place, right? And he knew that for my future kind of, well-being, it is important. So of course I was fearful, but I think a parental nudge or maybe a slap on the back, so that really helped, right? And so now there are a lot of other such things which have happened, where definitely fear was there. There was a sense of risk there, but over time you learn to trust first others who are elder to you and more influential, and then trust yourself. So, and there is a playbook, and you'll never get success at the first time. But over time, this becomes discipline in you, So, of course, I will say I'm fearful today also, right? But thankfully, I have a great investor, great stakeholders, lot of mentors, lot of advisors. I'm building a great team, and I'm sure all of us will overcome whatever adversities come our way and build something which customers will love.
I love that fact that how it is boiling down to building trust on either side. And then, of course, being decisive about what you want to do in life. And what I'm also hearing that in a way, dar achhi cheez bhi hai.
Correct.
It keeps us always ready or always our guards are up to do maybe better and be better than the version that we are today.
You're so right, Alok.
So thank you so much, PT. I think that was fantastic. Shifting gears, moving to your stint and what we know today, the brand called Angel Broking, and all thanks to you and your journey of so many years there. In 2019, you joined Angel, right?
Right.
And that was followed by a massacre. That was followed by COVID, wherein the world saw, wherein we couldn't have imagined.
Right.
How did you react? What was your thought structure? Because उस टाइम पे तो ऐसा लग रहा था कि सब खत्म. हमें ये नहीं पता था कि कल क्या होगा.
Right.
हम सब अपने घरों में लॉक्ड थे.
Right.
स्टॉक मार्केट तो दूर की बात, लेकिन we didn't even know that will we be getting food today or not.
Absolutely.
How did you go about thinking?
See, for me, I think I joined Angel a year prior, and Angel was already on their path to transformation. Choice making to become a discount broker already pushed us towards a lot on digitization. So I actually led that kind of charge on digitizing the entire customer journey and, kind of right nomenclature for the products and, ensuring that the entire org is geared towards being a digital organization. So all those were in place, and like the way our prime minister says, Aapda mein avsar, right? So when you're prepared, by the time this happened, like of course everybody understood the importance of digital journey, and everybody was in that journey. Nobody knew that it will be accelerated. Like I know the joke that was going around after 6 months of COVID was that who got the digital transformation? Not the CEO, not the CTO. COVID got the digital transformation, right? And because we were prepared with the right tools, right terminology, we were engaged. Of course, we were like hiding in our houses, afraid, right? But we were executing day after day, and that's where we got our advantages, right? And so initial years, I remember like people telling me, okay, Prabhakar, you guys have got growth and blah, blah, but is it a fluke? Is it because of COVID? I said, yes, of course we got the advantage, and we got the advantage better than others, right? And after that, we have kept pace with that, right? We have not looked back. This is because we were prepared. We took advantage of the situation which was there, where people were looking for digital means to come to the capital market, read a lot of stuff which is there, go for the trusted brand, well-established brand, and we were there. And of course, after that, we kept on building on that advantage, and that's the power of compounding for you, right? Like, trust compounds, technology compounds, know-how compounds, that's how it worked for us.
I quite liked Aapda Mein Avsar, and I think we have all seen that journey, right? Today, there are 20 crore demat accounts in India. But did you at Angel Broking also, after a couple of years from 2020 till 2022, the accounts were growing. Everybody was feeling that FOMO to enter the market to make some quick buck. And also लोगों के दिमाग में शायद ये भी था कि जिंदगी का कुछ पता नहीं, नौकरियों का कुछ पता नहीं, तो हमारे पास एक passive source of income होना चाहिए. I think a lot of young people saw this as an opportunity. But with that opportunity, the Aapda was just waiting. I think the market moved one-sided for like almost 3 years. And then when the volatility starting,
Reduced,
suddenly there is a lot of churn. The 20 crore demat account तो है, लेकिन उसमें active कितने? उस एक्टिव में अगर 5 या 6 करोड़ ही एक्टिवली लोग ट्रेड कर रहे हैं, उनमें से लोग बेचारे ऐसे भी हैं जो मार्केट में आए लेकिन दे बर्न्ड ऑल देयर मनी जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ not the right guidance, not knowing what to do, being scared. Did you guys also face this, that accounts khul rahe hain lekin activation nahi ho raha hai?
See, fortunately, we had a good track record, okay? And we do not take pride in vanity metrics. We are here to build businesses which are consumer-centric. See, first of all, let's understand what business are we in. We are in a business of capital market. What is the basic of a capital market? That there are businesses needing money, and there are investors who are putting their saving from banks, other places to capital market, knowing the risk involved.
Bilkul.
That's the basic of the capital market. Now, there are a variety of segments to enter capital market, right? From a delivery trade, from a long-term investing to FNO, to currency, commodity, multiple other avenues are there, right? So, one has to understand very, very clearly, losing and winning is a part of capital market. That's what risk is all about. Isn't that so? Correct? So, now the question which comes in is that, of course, you're right. 20 crores demat account, 11 crore unique demat accounts, 5.5 crore active. But how do you define active? Is it NSE definition? That, people who have not...
Maybe who are actively investing at least in mutual funds.
In 1 year time frame.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
But NSE active is mostly about your share market activity. It's
Right.
not about your demat account activity or mutual fund activity, right? So one, that number itself is flawed.
Okay.
Second, the way to look at that number is flawed. Why the number is flawed? Because we are just looking at the share market activity of a user in a 1 year time frame. Who tells you that he has to do it every day? I can as well forget it for 3 years. So on one side, we talk people about long-term investing. Other side, we are saying that why out of 20 crore people, only 5 and 5, like, isn't that, it's a stupid question in my mind. Honestly, that's what industry is asking, right? The second aspect, which is more important in my opinion, is, right, I mean, look at the reasons how capital market is built. Capital market is built by people who understand risk, who want to hedge risk, and people who buy risk knowing things can go wrong. So in future and options, there are people who are hedging their risk and the people who are buying that risk. Some of them are buying from a gambling and lottery mentality, right? But many of them are buying knowing fully well. And there, of course, there are hedge fund, institutional, Jane Street, Citadel of the world, right? But all of them are working towards the liquidity in the market, the price discovery in the market. This is the core aspect of a capital market.
Correct.
Right? We cannot see one side of it and say that it's bad. I mean, we should close down Bollywood, we should close down Indian cricket academies for that.
True.
How many of the people get into the national cricket team or get to play national cricket? So having said that, I'm not saying about the extremes. I'm saying look at things with certain mindset. A 25-year-old guy, out of sheer excitement, dopamine boost, adrenaline rush, gets into FNO, loses money. Maybe, I believe, some people around him and he himself realizes that I'm doing a mistake, but he has entered capital market. 2 years, 3 years, he can again come back. Now more sober, right?
Bilkul.
At least there's a capital market participation that one has to look at. At the same time, regulator is amazing. Regulator is giving us the guardrails, right, which is required. And that's why our market is booming. Longer term, the market is booming. We have seen Harshad Mehta, we have seen Ketan Parekh, we have seen 2008. So we have seen multiple rounds, right? So that will always be there.
This happens to everyone, and I'm so glad that you took such a relevant example कि not everyone becomes a cricketer, right? फिर तो हमें सब cricket academies बंद कर देनी
Correct.
चाहिए. Not everybody becomes, soldier fighting. I mean, there are lakhs and lakhs who appear, but rarely people get chance. And
Correct.
so is the, I would say, scientific approach to the markets. I remember, when I wanted to take that decision to start, investing in stocks.
Right.
I was sitting with, मैं अपने किसी दोस्त के साथ बैठा था. And the first thing, मेरे दोस्त ने सुना, अच्छा क्या करना चाहते हैं? मैंने यार stocks में invest करेंगे.
Right.
तो he just told me कि भाई बिल्कुल मत करियो, बर्बाद हो जाएगा. You know what I'm saying? बर्बाद हो जाएगा. तो अब वो बर्बाद हो जाएगा अगर मैं सुन के, and of course I got scared, but that also pushed me to understand, or rather to find out, or to be curious कि अरे ऐसा क्यों बोल रहा है बर्बाद हो जाएगा? Because investing in stocks, ideally, like you said, should not be like gambling.
Right.
मैं futures ही क्यों चुनूं? मैं trade options ही क्यों चुनूं? Why can't I study and understand कि जो चीजें मैं consume कर रहा हूं?
Correct.
If I'm consuming a Hindustan Unilever product, then I
Right.
might as well have the vision that, okay, this company is good. I mean, it could be my personal.
Absolutely.
But I think today the market has opened up.
Right.
I mean, some great work that you are trying to do in wealth tech.
Right.
We at Equentis try to do, try to help, try to advise people.
Wow.
कि वो जो एक नेगेटिव कॉनोटेशन है कि स्टॉक मार्केट तो जुआ है, स्टॉक मार्केट तो मिडिल क्लास के लिए है ही नहीं, स्टॉक मार्केट में आओगे तो बर्बाद हो जाओगे. आई थिंक दैट नीड्स टू बी, that stereotype or that negative connotation needs to be removed.
I'll give you a simple example.
Yeah.
It's very much doable. Risk averse doesn't mean I do not want to take risk. Risk averse mean I will take risk if there's a risk premium. Certain inflation rate is there, certain savings account, FD, I'm getting certain, return. So I give a chance that, like flip a coin. If it comes head, I will give you 100 rupees. If it comes tail, you give me 100 rupees. And you can buy that option for 50 rupees. You'd say, इसका net outcome तो zero है.
Correct.
Right? और कुछ और है. Why should I take that chance?
100%.
I will not take that chance.
Yeah.
I'm risk averse.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you say this, I can let go of this 5 rupees. I said, it's a 5 rupees. Then let's
it's
take
okay.
a chance here.
So it's a
but I
chance.
don't know. But not everybody will take that chance for 5 rupees.
100%.
Depending on how much that amount of money means for you. Right? But coming back to it. So when I entered Angel in my new capacity, I have a habit of doing extreme research in the new category that I enter. And I remember that, and I try to pick my clues from people, youngsters around me. So I went to one event, YouTube event. I saw a lot of youngsters talking, like very 7 feet tall guy, young guy from Times group. And saying, talking to his friends, saying that यार ये वोलेटिलिटी से डर लगता है. मतलब यार 7 फीट लंबा आदमी, इससे दुनिया को डर लगेगा, इसको वोलेटिलिटी से डर लगता है. वोलेटिलिटी से डर क्यों लगता है? मतलब आई डिडंट टॉक टू हिम, आई थॉट इन माई हेड. Because see, I mean, the data would tell you that the 30-year trend on gold, real estate, index, you can clearly see a trend,
100%.
right? What people worry about is that, see, all the assets go in certain cycles. People who enter on the peak and for some reason they have to kind of, go out in the downward, they talk about the losses. The people who enter on the down, reach on the peak, exit on the peak, they talk about the profit. I mean, that's not how things operate, right? You cannot time the market for itself. But if you allow yourself a longer period of time, you can exit at peace. And that's where the importance of emergency fund, that's where the importance of savings. And that's why I want to talk to the world with Project Drone about wealth.
Wow.
We will not make you money, we'll make you wealth. We'll make you understand what is income, what is expenses, what is saving, what is investment, what is a portfolio. And this basic construct, once you start with that, may look artificial, may look discomforting, but if you be around with that concept and allow various aspects of your life face you over a longer period of time, you'll understand what wealth truly is.
वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. पीटी, जस्ट पिकिंग अप फ्रॉम जो आपने बोला कि अगर आप 25 साल का ट्रेंड उठा के देखें, बी इट गोल्ड, बी इट द मार्केट इंडेक्स और बी इट रियल एस्टेट, यू विल सी अ ट्रेंड. बट टुडे, be it the millennials, be it the Gen Z, they do not have that virtue or horizon, or they do not have, simply put, patience of 30 years. They live in the moment, YOLO. You only live once. Right? So, they find savings and investments boring. They find swiping a credit card sexy. Right? What's your take on this? How do you get to educate when you meet youngsters? How do you want to educate them?
See, YOLO work both ways. Okay, you only live once, so why live paycheck to paycheck? What's the point of that, right? And the counter narrative isn't about being a miser. It's about how can you be strategic, because, I mean, with a diversified portfolio backing your adventures, you should not YOLO your way into debt, because that's bad. Retirement is also part of your living. So what do you want? When you go for retirement, you're dependent on someone, right? Or you want to live on your own terms. So YOLO is good. Everybody likes adventure, right? But eventually, where do you draw the line? And are you having a holistic view on that? To my mind, live YOLO, but retirement ka bhi soch lo.
We would actually be rich or be wealthy.
Correct.
Rather than looking rich or showing off.
Absolutely, bang on.
Yeah. I think what all of us are seeing, and as consumers, ये जो आज की generation है, they are living in EMIs. Be it a Bali trip, be it the latest iPhone, be it a destination wedding. So EMIs is the new sexy. And they don't blink by adding yet another 5,000 rupees ka EMI into their, overall scheme of things. But they don't realize that at the end of the day, they are not consumers. They are getting consumed. They are just living what you said, from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And it's a vicious circle.
Absolutely.
I think going back to our parents, they had lesser salaries. They had lesser disposable income left after salaries, but lesser means. But उन्होंने हमसे कम से कम 10 गुना खुशहाल जिंदगी जी है, एक शांति की जिंदगी जी है, which is not there. Today, I know a lot of my younger cousins who are just buying a new car, not for the driving pleasure, but to unveil it on Instagram. For them, likes is a higher currency than what you said, कि अपनी retirement की भी सोच लो. But what's your strategy in Project Drone? How will you handhold these youngsters? How do you plan to attack? Because marketing or ideas is all about perception change.
Right.
And then altering that behavior.
Right.
How do you want to tackle that?
Okay, so I'll come to that. See, first of all, you said you're from Haryana. Okay.
Yeah.
So I worked just after engineering in Ghaziabad, UP. And I was also Gen Z at some day, right? Today I'm not, right? So that time I used to hear this Ghaziabad guys, even Haryana guys saying something like, मौज लो रोज लो. मतलब they are like totally like,
वो मैं पूरा करता हूँ.
हाँ.
मौज लो, रोज लो, ना मिले तो खोस लो.
हाँ.
उसका मतलब होता है नहीं मिले तो छीन लो, लेकिन मौज रोज लेनी है. So it was 3 lines.
But actually, the beauty of that is that you're finding your happiness like not just in the money that you're earning, right? Not in your conditions. That's one part, right? And the moj cannot just be the likes in Instagram, cannot be the things that you are kind of selling your kidney to buy, right? That's not where it is. Now let's talk about the parents. Now this is very, very important point, right? I think there's one thing our parent did, which is very beautiful. They maintained their income minus expenses is equal to savings. The savings could not go into investment beyond land and gold for a very simple reason. Market infrastructure didn't exist to that degree at that point of time. That was a big lacuna at that point of time. Second, on investment, they had to risk something.
Right.
What will you do with your investment succeeding?
Correct.
You'll upgrade your lifestyle. You'll prepare for your kids' future.
Right.
What else can you do? Right?
Right.
But they didn't want to take any chance. They know that they have to struggle today, and whatever saving they have, is a sure shot money they have for their kids' education and well-being. So I would say, in the mix, there was something called sacrifice. And of course, that moj lo, roj lo attitude, right? Belief in better tomorrow, destiny, karma, all those thrown in. And that's why they did what they did. In today's term, nobody's asking you to sacrifice. Not for your kids, not for others. If you want, discipline yourself. As simple as that. At Project Drone, we want to bring the fact that humans will behave the way they behave. We cannot change that.
Interesting.
That's there. Give them a framework which they can play around with. And over time they learn. And show them how does this framework in the most interesting way, leveraging technology, leveraging storytelling. That's how over time they learn. Okay, I took this call 2 years back. How has it turned out? And this good call I took, which I didn't like at that time, or I did in auto mode, the most boring thing, has that turned out? Right? This is where I believe a generation can be taught about wealth, can learn how to manage their wealth, and actually will enjoy everything they want. But not at the mercy of EMIs or credit card swipe, but at the mercy of the outcomes of their portfolio. So goal setting, goal management, I think that's the crux of financial planning. And fundamentally over time with Project Drone, maybe your MVP will be like, towards that direction, but eventually we will kind of really, really go to the crux of this issue of goal planning and financial management and wealth creation and management.
That's a very interesting take, that one discipline instilled at the right time, leading or maybe hand-holding the generation to think about their goals and then acting in a very scientific manner to actually go towards those goals. But tell me, today this generation is not scared of overspending. They will very casually go to a mall, swipe their cards here and there, but they are scared of investing. So why is this fear, having two faces? कि जब मैं इन्वेस्ट करने जाता हूँ तो मुझे बहुत डर लगता है या इंटिमिडेटिंग लगता है या मैं वो नहीं करना चाहता हूँ, लेकिन जब मैं कोई चीज़ अमेजोन पे देखता हूँ या फ्लिपकार्ट पे देखता हूँ या इंस्टाग्राम पे स्क्रॉल करते हुए मुझे कोई गैजेट पसंद आता है, तो इट जस्ट टेक्स मी 3 seconds टू क्लिक add to cart, buy, and then swipe. It's an EMI. How do you tackle that? Goal planning will follow. That's okay. But these instantaneous purchases somewhere are drilling a deep hole which people do not realize.
There are 3 things about it. Okay, the first thing is I'll tell you from my FMCG learning. So Mondelez or Cadbury's will always focus on impulse buy. So you see a lot of chocolate counters near the cash counter. So even if people have not come to buy chocolate, they will buy chocolate because while they're paying to the cashier there, they can actually take out a chocolate because they're feeling bored and it's there. Impulse is there to have chocolate, right? So many things are impulsive. People do it for the sake of it. The second aspect is that a Harvard study long back, very simply put, they got kids around. They gave them like chocolate or cake or brownie. I forgot what exactly the item was, but they told them 2 things. So one, I'm giving you all of you one brownie right now. And if you do not eat it for next 1 hour or 2 hours, I'll give you one more.
Okay.
So there are kids who could not contain themselves and add the brownie. And there are kids who can actually discipline and wait. They got 2 brownies. And they tracked all these kids over time in terms of their life choices And you know what eventual outcome was that? The kids who waited for 1 hour to get second brownie actually did well in their life. So that long-term thinking really helps. That's the second aspect. The third aspect is that people cannot deal with boredom. People cannot deal with indecisiveness. People do not have a conceptual framework. That's what I'm trying to say, right? If you clearly understood, there's something called income, there's something called saving, there's something called this income, then there are expenses, then there's saving, there is investment. If you clearly learn it in a very interesting way, you know, you'll not feel bored or impatient. You'll actually understand that this, whatever I'm having is basically, if I save this, it is a saving, right? When they say save 50%, they're not saying save 50%. They're saying, you know, spend 100%, right? So when Flipkart and Amazon shouts from the rooftop, you know, one should understand they're asking you to spend, not to save, because you don't need many of those things in the first place, right? So third aspect is that people do not want to feel bored. They want hormonal rush. And you know, and enough and more things have been written about behavioral economics on that, right? So these three things. So one has to be patient about it, and one has to make a core. Once you have a core set of user, you know, whom you educate and they see the value in what you're giving them, eventually they will kind of like influence others around them. And this will become a national phenomena. So it'll become from a kind of country of savers to country of investors. And that's what we need to become.
It's so heartening to hear things that you're saying and how Equentis as an organization not just believes it, but we follow it. The conceptual framework that you talked about, right? The long-term thinking. I think we have a conceptual framework. We say clarity, consistency, and compounding.
Perfect.
So you should be clear what you're getting into.
Correct.
You should be consistently doing it,
Right.
irrespective of the market volatility, irrespective of how your emotions drive you.
Absolutely.
And then hence reap the benefit of compounding. Pity, everyone tells, or you know, the internet, the YouTube, Instagram, influencers, everyone is telling what to do in stock market. कोई
Right.
ये नहीं बताता है कि stock market में to get successful आपको
Right.
क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. And we, like you said, we have a blueprint for that.
Right.
There are 6 things that we say that you should not do while you are wanting to invest in the stocks. First,
Right.
number 1, you should not try to time the market.
Correct.
Right? Second, you should not over diversify or under diversify. कई बार हम लोग बहुत इमोशनल होके जैसे आपने बोला खरीद लेते हैं. नहीं. You have to be at a very balanced scientific mix of what percentage of stocks will you buy of a particular company. Third, you should never buy in an emotional turnaround. When the market is volatile, you have to be patient, you have to be calm, you have to be understanding that market will have cyclicity.
Right.
Fourth, which is my favorite, never invest with borrowed money or borrowed capital.
Absolutely.
That's a death trap.
True.
People take money on interest and try to deploy that money in the market. That's really
Warren
really
Buffett has a very interesting term for that, right? So when you know, there's a tide, like you know, everybody's swimming on it, but when the tide turns, you know how many people were swimming naked.
Bilkul. So continuing, fifth, which we tell is excessive churning. Stay away from excessive churning. And I think आपने भी शुरुआत में mention किया
Right.
that why can't you think of 3 years, 4 years? Stay calm, stay put.
Right.
And the last one, which I feel is the most, I mean, the closest to my heart, इसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं संयम.
Yes.
और मैं बोलता हूँ it is a युद्ध अपने ही विरुद्ध. Because it's very
Exactly.
important that you be patient और वो संयम आप रखें.
Yeah.
So while a lot of people are talking about how you can study candlesticks, how you can study the charts and ace the market, and this wealth tech that you are now wanting to build, Drone, how do you see this space evolving at the helm of technology? Because Sanyam, not timing the market, not over churning, not investing borrowed capital, this is the basic. But how do you see technology as an enabler, and what you are seeing as the next shift in the wealth tech in India?
See, first of all, we have to allow people their humanity. You know, if we take away everybody's mind and emotion and put a machine there which can actually take accurate calls, then we are forgetting humanity. Money is just one aspect of human efforts, and we see value there. And there are multiple other aspects. So everything we see doesn't work in market may work elsewhere, right? I'm being philosophical here, but get that point straight. Now let's come to the humanity part of it. First of all, let's accept that people learn with their mistakes. And any behavior, while the hardwiring is from past, centuries, thousands of years of hardwiring, they cannot go overnight. And they should not go also. If humanity has moved forward and we see we have made progress, then the same human has made those progress, right? The steam engine, internal combustion engine, AI, the same human has got it, right? Now then what is the question for the wealth firm, right? The question for the wealth firm is that how do I allow people their humanity? How do I show them the choices they have to make at any decision point? And then whatever decision they have made, how can I bring them back to review it after a certain time? These three things, nothing else.
And you're trying to maybe use technology just to simplify this very human side of investing.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
I can't be your parent. I cannot be your teacher. I can be a partner. I can talk your language. I can build my expertise in the dashboard. I can build my expertise in the form of simple graphs, very simple analogies. But the decision is yours. I may be wrong. Who knows? Right? I don't know your life goals. I do not know your risk appetite. I do not know what stage of life you are. Right? Then my job is to respect your humanity, respect that you're an adult. You can choose the prime minister, chief minister of the country, then you can basically decide whether to buy this or that, right? Then my job is to just leverage technology, knowledge of human behavior, and then something called choice architecture. You kind of architect the choice in certain way that you nudge people for the right behavior. That's what a system architect should do.
So is this your take on the overall, I would say, buzzword these days, which is AI? Everyone is talking about ChatGPT, Perplexity. So I hear you, and I sort of echo the thought that there has to be a human side to everything that we do in life. But what's your take that how will this disruption that's happening? I yesterday was seeing a post by Perplexity's founder that how they are getting into the financial markets and how, sooner or later they will be able to answer all the queries, whether be it regarding what to buy, how much to buy, when to buy, and when to sell. How do you plan to handle it?
I'll give you a very simple thing. I'll give you an example of Mahabharata. You're from Haryana, you can relate to that. Kurukshetra is there, right? Krishna is the AI. He has all the answers. He has done scenario building with huge probability of things happening the next way. But you are the Arjun. Yuddh khud ke viruddh bola na apne. You have to fight the yuddh. Right? And your humanity will come in the way. Your doubts will come in the way. Your past conditioning will come in the way. Inability to take risk will come in the way. Your loss, aversion will come in the way. Your greed will come in the way. Right? So, and there's nothing wrong following trends. I'm sure when the steam engine came for the first time, or when the internal combustion engine came for the first time, or Ford made the best first industry, I'm sure, take out the newspaper of that time. The company names, shop names, new innovation will be following that trend. So nothing wrong with the trend. But question is that how are you using those tools? They're just tools. The decision is yours, the life is yours, right? So I would say it's very interesting that people are doing data aggregation, lot of knowledge building, leveraging AI. But then what decisions are they taking? And that's where the conceptual framework comes. The basics will never change. For any financial commercial matter, there'll be income, there'll be expenses, there'll be savings, there's investment. Change it. Thousands years from now, this will be the same thing.
I think this example will stay with me for life. It's brilliant how you sort of simplified that how AI is just like Krishna and how we have to be the Arjun of our lives taking those decisions.
Correct.
Because he was the one जो ये दिमाग में सोच रहा था कि ये तो मेरा ताऊ है और ये मेरा भाई है, मैं इसके खिलाफ अपने शस्त्र कैसे उठाऊं?
Exactly.
I would say those nudges will keep coming in our life. Those scenarios will keep coming in our life where we'll have to have that yuddh with ourselves internally that is this what I'm doing is right?
Right.
Is what the machine at the disposal that I have is telling me right? But I so agree with it. I think technology as an enabler has always been there.
Absolutely.
AI, maybe not as directly as it is now, has always been there around us.
Absolutely.
Google is built on AI. The search queries run on the AI engine. But today, because the power has shifted to the last mile, because today anyone sitting anywhere in any part of the globe could access it, could ask whatever they could want. But do you think that this power should also be very, very consciously now regulated? Because today there is no regulation as such in the AI space.
Okay, can Brahmastra be regulated? Of course, Brahmastra can be regulated, right? Because God only gives it to the worthy people, and they have to follow certain penance and structure to keep that
Protocols.
power of the Brahmastra, right? We are living in a very interesting era. Maybe Mr. Elon Musk, the richest person in the planet, would be using iPhone. I also use iPhone, right? Maybe his will have more apps, more software, and blah blah blah. But the fact is that we both have access to it. When was the time in the known human history that the difference between the richest and powerful man and the common most was so narrow? So everything else you have is your bank account or your wealth, right? In the capital market. The point I'm making is very simple. Regulation. Why do you regulate certain things? I mean, question comes in is there are certain things which can be both poison and medicine. Correct? So when do you regulate that? Right? That which usage is more pronounced. Right? Second, you look at is that what is the outcome if used in a bad way to one individual and to the larger set of individuals. That's when you regulate it. Now, AI, as you rightly said, is nothing. I mean, from Second World War or prior to that, what is it? It's a data. The first point is data, then patterns in the data, then there's a regression analysis, then there's a machine learning, then there's an AI, then autonomous learning. It's a progression of human knowledge. From Second World War or before that also, people have power with data. Germans were using data. Americans were using data to break their data points. So regulation that we talk about is from the angle of what I said. What is the prominent usage of that data? Who is getting harmed in the process? An individual or a group of individual or a society or a nation. And the most and important thing around that part is that AI going rogue. I think that's the biggest danger. That's what Elon Musk talked about, like, talk to OpenAI, like talk to Meta folks. And then we have known the kind of AI talking in their own language, and they're figuring out when you put a kill switch, they don't kill it, right? And I took an elective in my mechanical engineering, robotics. And there are 3 laws of Asimov. I can't really read out all the 3 laws, but one law was that they will never harm human. So if there's a possibility of harming human, the robot will harm itself, but not the human. And that's the only danger. If this law is not followed, then we need to figure out something. We always have heard about mad scientists, right? And with what motivation they are working, right? So coming back to your original question, should it be regulated? Of course it can be, if any of these things are coming in the way, right? But who will decide, right? Will a single country sovereign government will decide? Or will a group of nations will decide? Or just scientists will decide and come out with their own protocols for that? We have yet to see. But at this moment, let's ride the wave.
Great insight. PT, just shifting gears and moving, I mean, you took Elon's name and just trying to bring in a global perspective here. The geopolitical situation that is happening, and there's a lot of chat around Trump, tariffs. There is a lot of, I would say, unrest, which is clearly visible in markets.
Correct.
What do you think the future beholds? I mean, from a longer term perspective, definitely we have seen the cyclicity of the market. But what's your suggestion to the young investors today who are in this turmoil? The last year has been fairly flattish, has not been able to beat the benchmark, rather, the equities. So what would you recommend how to go about traversing the market at this moment?
Yeah. Volatility is the tax you pay for long-term returns. Now that's the basic of capital market investment, or in fact any investment for that matter, right? The only problem is the concept called mark to market. Mark to market is a very simple concept. Like in capital market, there's a liquidity and you exactly know that your 100 rupees stock has become 90 rupees the next day. Next day it's become 80, then it has become 120, 130. So you go through this emotion, right? Gold, you know the prices, but you don't check it out every day, right? Land, you know prices go up and down, but you don't check out every day, right? The question is, volatility hits you hard if you look at a metrics, not fully understanding why that metric is there in the first place. So if you're a long-term investor, then volatility is not your game. Your game is that how the world economy is shaping, how the national economy is shaping, how a particular sector that you have put in is shaping, how the company that you have invested, the management is behaving, right? That's what you need to look at over a longer term, right?
Can we expect all of this to be covered in your project Drone?
Absolutely.
All of what you talked about?
Yeah.
Could we look at a holistic platform? I'm just trying to imagine, because you told me that you're trying to build everything possible for him or her, not to parent him or her, not to teach, but to speak in his or her language. Is that something that we're looking out?
That's the vision. That's with what we have started. I mean, our MVP will look in certain way, based on the market reality and trying to kind of get our grounding zone, right? And over time, it will move towards that. That's the reason why we are kind of getting the right team in place. That's the reason why we look for the right partners, because all these things need to see the light of the day and in terms of execution and all. And that's the reason why I'm educating myself in a big way. Like as I shared in my LinkedIn post few days back that I have cleared NISM SORM exam. I'm very happy to share, which I have not put in LinkedIn, that I have also cleared RIA level 1.
Oh, lovely.
And I'll go for level 2 now. So I know that as a business, Project Drone will push both regulation and a multi-regulator environment, compliance and technology to its limits. And all point of time, as a founder of this firm, I want to take the right calls, decisions, right? Take the right experimentation, keeping all stakeholders in confidence, right? But this is the vision. I mean, it might sound like a high words at the moment, but this is the vision with which we are starting. We may fail, but we will not leave any stone unturned to make it a reality.
Lovely. So, I mean, imagine we are in a situation, I'll not call it a situation, but I think it's an opportunity only. Like someone like you who spent decades making brands, building businesses, took that call to educate himself, consciously upskill himself, because we want to do something greater in life. And today, the irony is that, the generation doesn't want to read, but wants to quickly get rich overnight. So they don't have the sanyam or patience to understand that, okay, if I'm jumping and investing in crypto, I might as well be aware of crypto. नुकसान होगा, फायदा होगा, वो फिर उसके बाद देखेंगे, बट क्या मुझे पता है उसके बारे में? I think that is the question. That brings me to a very interesting question, PT, and I've been thinking of this question for quite some time. Our education system, बहुत बार हम लोग बात करते हैं कि हमें अलजेब्रा भी सिखाया, ज्योमेट्री भी सिखाया, फिजिक्स भी सिखाया, केमिस्ट्री भी सिखाया, लेकिन किसी ने ये नहीं सिखाया कि पैसा कैसे बनाया जाता है, या पैसे को कैसे ग्रो किया जाता है, या आप उसके लिए क्या कर सकते हैं. डू यू थिंक दैट देयर इज अ फंडामेंटल शिफ्ट रिक्वायर्ड in the overall education system where we need to talk about money at a very, very young stage?
Perfect. So I'll answer that, but there are 3 things you said. So first is, my investment in my learning and education has always been there. From the very initial days when I when I went to cosmetics and could not pronounce lipstick properly. My wife used to make fun of me, right? I learned that bit, right? And so that's an investment I made, because that's my playbook. Over time, whatever outcomes I have got, very good or very bad, were around that playbook, and I have made my iterations. So I would not go to the degree that, today's youth are ill-informed and they are not really investing. I would say they are investing in a manner which is not visible, in a manner which would be like counterintuitive to person of my age possibly, or my thought process or somebody else's thought process, right? Question is, this is a multimodal learning that they are doing. This is a generation which is kind of on a digitally born generation, right? So I would give them that credit that they are trying to learn things. I will say that their learning curve is far more steeper than possibly mine or yours or others, right? So one is that part, Second aspect is about our education system. I believe that is changing for sure. And that has to change because, it's not about algebra and all, right? I mean, there are certain basic things which have come out as tools. We cannot blame algebra for anything, like in the sense that, I do not mean it in any other way, but the fact is that a lot of competitive exams, which kind of, acted as a hurdle in our career and actually leapfrogged us to the next level of the game, career and life game, wanted us to check out that, right? So any criteria you fix will have their limitations. So let's accept that. If math, science are the thing, and however you do it, रट्टा मार के करते हो, समझ के करते हो, कोचिंग क्लास में जाते हो, खुद से पढ़ते हो, doesn't matter. क्वेश्चन है कि हर्डल है, उस बंदे को ही पता है कि आने वाला है, तुमको ही पता आने वाला है, तुमने प्रिपेयर किया, तुम लेप फ्रॉग है, अच्छा किया। उसको उसको बिलीव नहीं था, उसने कुछ और किया। तो ऐसा नहीं कि जो इससे आगे बढ़ेगा वही सक्सेस होगा, जो नहीं आएगा उसमें सक्सेस। दे विल मेक देयर ओन जर्नी along the way, right? And that's about being humanity, right? Allowing people to be adult, right? But let's come back to the main point, which is what more can we do on financial education? That's a very, very good point, right? Now the point there is that people should know what is a salary slip, what is a credit card, right? How do you take proper debt? What is leverage, right? What is compounding, right? And compounding to the beauty of it. Such a beautiful thing it is, right? By case studies, analogies, few things, real life application. Parents need to talk a lot about that. Like, okay, now I'll tell you one more interesting thing. Why do you think that there are certain communities in the country who do very well in business?
Marwadis, Gujaratis, and dairy business mein people from Haryana.
And Sindhis.
Sindhis.
And Punjabis also, right? What is it about them? What are they doing differently in their houses?
I think they talk more about money.
Not just that. They talk about savings also. They talk about investment also. They talk about taking risk also, right? So already we have enough and more, right? And question is that if you have such a friend in your circle, what you get to learn from them? So I'm saying, fine, you cannot push every burden to government. Of course, they should do it. There's no denial there, right? But if you have to learn, you can learn. Nobody's a businessman in my family, right? But I have taken entrepreneurial bets.
I think it's very important. What you're saying is true gold, because जो आपने बोला ना कि they talk about money, they talk about investments, and it's very important. वो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि आपके दोस्त, आपका सर्कल वैसा हो. अभी समझिए कि जब मैंने, like I told you, when I wanted to invest in the stock market, the first thing जो मेरे दोस्त ने बोला कि भाई बर्बाद हो जाएगा, मत करियो.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Now, if I would have been sitting in learned people's company like yourselves, or Manish, who's our founder, बहुत simple चीज है. Only if you have clarity in what you're doing, only if you're doing it consistently, only if you are
willing to
wanting
compound that,
or waiting to compound that and to enjoy that beauty of compounding.
Correct.
So I think it's, a softer takeaway for me and for all of our viewers could also to be having a close look at your circle.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, it's not like one fine day we wake up and decide that, okay, hey, let me be rich from tomorrow. It has to be a function, or it has to be it result of some things that we've been doing consistently. So lovely. PT, just coming to some things that we've been hearing a lot today around us. One, I don't know whether it's a fad or a trend. आजकल लोग sneakers में invest कर रहे हैं. आजकल लोग luxury bags में invest कर रहे हैं. What's your take on that? Is this a fad, or could it be a new investment category?
See, 99.9% people are doing it, without really understanding, what is the asset side of it. It's just a trophy to show to the world, and put it like, like in Instagram or elsewhere. So it's a new fad of overspending with new justification, in my opinion. See, a true investment has to have intrinsic value there, right? It has to generate cash flow. It has to be a part of a diversified flow and all of that, right? And if you ask me, limited edition sneaker is none of that, right? It's a consumer good with volatility, and with a hype driven value. So in my opinion, one has to know what they are doing, that you talk about the clarity part of it, right? The clarity is that important. But having said that, I wouldn't mind buying that sneaker, right? But I will not fool myself and others saying that it's an investment. Dude, I loved it. I bought it. It's one aspect of my spends. I'm not ballooning it. That's fine, right? But can it help me in my retirement plans? The answer is no, right? So having said that, if you follow a herd mentality for the sake of it, that's where the problem lies. But if you really mean what that spend mean for you, you're clear about it, and it's not hurt. You've not sold your house to buy that. It's fine.
Interesting. Coming to a headline in the past few days, real money gaming apps have been banned. What do you think? Is this a good move or a not so good move?
See, question, always ask. It depends. Like, that's a standard answer, but then you say that's a boring answer, but that's a real answer, right? What is real money gaming at the end of it? Like people taking bet. Who takes bet? All of us take bet, right? because it's called real money. We take non-monetary bet in our day-to-day life, whether to cross that red light or not cross that red light, whether to speed up or not speed up, or XYZ, n number of things, right? Well, what is about real money gaming? Real money gaming is that fundamentally it is not adding any net economic value. If you see from the government eyes, right? It can give you a lot of taxes.
28,000 crore का तो GST ही है.
Correct? That is there. But net economic value, that's the important point. Net economic value, right? What is it taking away? It's taking away youth's time.
Absolutely. Youth's attention.
Yeah. And it's a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
Somebody's wins and somebody's loss. And the kind of people you're talking about who do not have the long-term vision of investment horizon, how do you think they kind of treat this gaming? See, you can go to casino once in a month, once in a quarter, once in a year, right? No problem there. What if you go to casino every week, every day? Every single moment of your waking moment, you're just thinking about the casino. And the problem with this gambling mentality is that like everything else becomes secondary. You take huge and huge things, it can result into crime and multiple other things.
100%.
So the point I'm making is, again, I'm coming back to it and I'm sure somebody would have done a clear study on that. So societal impact, economic impact, and for any government to let go of a huge tax, upfront tax is not an easy thing, right? But the other side of it, see, if you really want to bet, you can bet with 3 friends. यार, you can play 3 पत्ती, दिवाली पे सब खेलते हैं और 1000 चीजें और भी हैं, ठीक है? बट उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या है? इम्पैक्ट है छोटे सर्कल में, इम्पैक्ट है लोग समझते हैं चीजों को. It cannot be some, like there's a reason why we have an age for people to vote.
Drive.
Or drive.
For people to drive.
Right? Because we know that till that point of time, despite your skill level, you have not fully understood the impact of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Correct? So, lottery is also good, but lottery mindset is bad. Right? यार वरदान एक बार मिलता है और सबको नहीं मिलता है. लॉटरी का आउटकम वरदान है, जैकपॉट इज अ वरदान. Right? But daily disciplined execution towards your life goal and vision and willing to take boredom and pain will get you real wealth.
That's a very interesting way to look at it. Like you said, we bet in our daily life scenarios also, whether to speed up, whether to eat something, whether to wake up at a particular time. But that betting mindset is in a way dangerous.
Absolutely.
And just to add to that, I think ye kahin na kahin it turned out to be an addiction also. Because as they say, if you give a man cheap entertainment and easy money, he can throw all his goals out of the window right there. I think that is what maybe alarmed the government or someone who would have done a deep dive research, that our youth not only is losing time, it's losing focus, it's losing attention. And with that carrot hanging that कि आज 3 गेम लूडो की खेल के या 3 गेम रम्मी की खेल के शायद आप 1 करोड़ रुपया जीत सकते हो, उसकी चाहत में वो बेचारा अपने जितने भी 2, 4, 5 हज़ार कमा रहा है वो उसी में ही वापस डाले जा रहा है, rather than investing in something which could actually grow into something better.
Absolutely.
So I think this has been a topic of contention, and I'm sure the government is doing good, and there have been a lot of questions that why would it cut off something that is giving 28,000 crore GST and so on and so forth. But I think the larger point that this addresses is that maybe Indian consumerism story that has just started is not at that maturity, or especially the being a very, very young country, the maturity levels are not that high that we could understand the larger impact of it. Maybe in that moment we would make $100 or $200. I remember, for the longest period of time, we as a country have been, in a guilt of consumerism, right? I think जब हम बड़े हो रहे थे तो मेरे लिए तो I keep telling my younger team members that my first Adidas shoe was special to me.
Absolutely.
उस टाइम पे एक ही जूता होता था, या तो आपने वो एक Adidas ले लिया. Today maybe you could have a sneaker for evening walk, you will have a jogging shoe, you will have a treadmill shoe, you will have outdoor running shoe. But that guilt of consumerism is...
I will look at it differently. I'll tell you why. So many a times, as I told you about, you talked about how our parents were more contented, right? In a kind of a low income, they could raise a family and get them educated and give them opportunities in life. And I talked about this again, the income, expenses, saving, investment. And I told you the, kind of certainty they wanted that their saving should stay and be useful at that point of time, right? And one element I added was sacrifice, right? And that sacrifice is what they taught us. And that's why in our subconscious mind, that guilt has come in, right? But that guilt can be, inverted. With a simple reason, when you start looking at things from a value angle, there's a cost to everything, but the value is something you decide, right? Today, if the youth is deciding that there is a value there, they might be seeing something that you and I can't see, right? For us, sneaker is just a sneaker, right? But for them, if that requires speed, doesn't hurt the knees, there's a value to that. Or there's a social badge value. If people kind of clap or they have the look
They
at
talk
me,
about
wow.
you in the room.
Perfect. But you cannot be blinded to only this fact. If this is the only thing which is driving all their consumption in all aspects of their life, then there's something wrong there, right? If I'm a photographer, having the best device, and gear is important to me, and I invest. And you'd say, what wasteful thing? But boss, this is important part of my life. This is my self-expression.
Correct.
Right? But if I do everything like this,
Then
and without regard to what my saving investment is, then there's something wrong with me.
then there's something.
So the way to look at it, in my opinion, is very simply put, over time, again, you have to allow people to be adult. We have to allow them have an access to what value really brings, and not becoming mad about others' opinion, and don't live life in Instagram or other such places. Right? Come back to reality and look at your portfolio and your life's P&L, and then decide things out.
Lovely. So I think we've had a beautiful conversation from
Thank you.
talking about sacrifice to Krishna being the AI, to how our parents were living a contented life, to how some of the values that this generation definitely has, but needs to bring more on the face and more thinking from a long-term perspective. Now moving to my favorite section, which is called rapid fire.
Okay.
So what we'll do is we'll quickly shoot some questions.
Okay.
And you will have to be even quicker to answer those.
Perfect.
And really, really short.
Can I answer it before you ask? Just
Yeah,
kidding.
I would have wished that. But so the way we'll keep it is short and tight answers.
Perfect.
Nothing to be, in a way, these are top of your mind. So we just want to see that how does your
Okay.
reaction there. Self-research or having an advisor?
I think I'll do self-research, then use an advisor to execute it.
A brand you admire outside finance?
Absolutely. Apple is the brand I admire because of the simplicity at a premium and the ecosystem thinking around it. I'm simply in love with Apple. If I can execute Apple kind of brand architecture in any of the work I do, I'll be very proud of that.
One word to describe the Indian investor in 2025.
I think they're assertive, and they just want to show that they can vote with their investment and make the business go rocket.
If you weren't in the wealth business, which you are now, or marketing, what would you be doing?
I'll be a storyteller and maybe a novelist and professor always.
The biggest investing mistake that you think people do?
I think they do not give it time to mature. That's the bad part.
Your personal investment style in 3 words.
I think I'm disciplined, I diversify, and I think in long terms.
One piece of advice that you would want to give every 20-year-old investor today.
Take calculated risk.
What's one truth about money that no one wants to hear?
That's very interesting. See, money is never the driver. Money is the tool. And money will only amplify the kind of person you are. Right? The more of it you'll show off yourself. So to my mind, you should always have a very healthy relationship with money. Money is the value you're creating in the society. Consume it, create it, preserve it, and then give it away.
Just to extend and add to it, I think money definitely falls in a category which you can quantify.
Correct.
I think what I've learned over the years is that anything that you can quantify or put a number to or put an area to can never satisfy you.
Absolutely.
Take an example of you buying your first home in Bombay, which was a humble 1-bedroom. जब हम 1 bedroom में 1 साल रह रहते हैं तो हमें वो छोटा लगने लगता है. Then we go for a 2-bedroom apartment. Once we spend 3 years and our family size increases, we feel कि नहीं अब तो एक 3-bedroom flat होना चाहिए.
Absolutely.
थोड़े सालों बाद जब हमारी फैमिली इंक्रीज होती है, बच्चे बड़े होते हैं, तो हमें वो 3-bedroom छोटा लगने लगता है. देन वी लुक फॉर 4 और 5.
इसका जवाब हमारे पेरेंट्स ने दे दिया था.
Right.
जितनी चादर है उतनी पैर फैलाओ.
राइट
पैर तो काट नहीं सकते,
राइट
तो पैर अंदर रख लो और वेट करो चादर का फैला सकते हो.
एब्सोल्युटली. सो आई नो पीपल
हाँ,
who have farmhouses in acres,
right,
but there's no happiness in their life.
right.
So I think what I've learned, and I would definitely want to share with everyone, is that anything that you could quantify and you think that it could make you happy,
Right.
वो आप एक दूसरे ही दुनिया में जी रहे हैं. That will never make you happy.
Absolutely.
You have to have that contentment in your heart कि हाँ मैं एक 3 bedroom में रहता हूँ, ठीक है, कल 4 होएगा, 5 भी, 10 भी हो जाएगा.
Absolutely.
But that could not be the reason for the happiness.
So true.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Last, what's the real difference between saving and investing?
See, I mean, saving is like parking your money. Investing is like putting it to work.
For itself.
Yeah.
Lovely, PT. So I think this is it from our side, and
Thank
I've
you.
had one of the best conversations in some time. I must say, a lot of value add to me personally and to all our viewers. And
Yeah.
definitely, we would love to have you more when you find some time more from your wealth tech startup Drone. All our best wishes. May the Almighty be with you, and may your project Drone fly high in the sky.
So thanks a ton, Alok. I kind of really thank you from the bottom of my heart, you, your team, for bringing me here. And this is the first time I'm talking about Project Drone. Not some IP or some secret stealth mode tool we are doing. I'm talking very simple things, and I believe if all of us use these simple concepts and framework, including your firm, my firm, and multiple other firms, I mean, we can really make a generation of investors, who will not just do nation building, but enjoy a fruitful, holistic life.
Lovely.
And that's what we all should focus on.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.